I have a son, a good-looking man, educated, successful. He stands in courtrooms and argues cases worth millions of dollars. And somewhere, in the story he tells his wife, his colleagues, his whole carefully constructed life, I don't exist. He told them I was dead. Not that we lost touch, not that things got complicated. Dead. Like I never scrubbed floors at 5 a.m. to keep his lights on. Like I never skipped meals so he could have new shoes for school. Like I never wired money I didn't have, month after month after month, so he could finish that law degree. Dead. I found out the way you find out things you were never supposed to know. Through a child. His child. A 16-year-old girl who went looking for her grandmother in an old church directory because something in her knew she wasn't getting the whole truth. When Imani called me for the first time, I thought I was dreaming. She had his eyes. I could hear it in the way she laughed. And she had no idea, none, that her father had buried me. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to know who's in the room with me right now. I'm Loretta Mae Washington, Memphis-born, Memphis-raised, and I am so glad you're here. Drop your city in the comments right now. I want to see where my people are watching from. Houston, Chicago, Atlanta, Detroit, wherever you are, let me know. And if somebody sent you this video, tell me that too, because that means somebody loves you enough to share something real. Now, let me tell you about the morning I drove 4 hours to Chicago with a manila envelope on my passenger seat. Inside it, every money order I ever sent my son. 16 years of receipts. $47,000. And a plan I hadn't told a single soul about. Not even Imani.
Let me take you back, because you need to understand who Darius was before he became who he is now. He was my everything. I'm not saying that the way mothers say it casually. I mean, he was the whole reason I kept going on days I had nothing left. His father left when Darius was 4. No goodbye, no child support, just gone. So it was me. Just me. I cleaned houses, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Mrs. Patterson on Mondays, the Hendersons Tuesday and Wednesday, a rotation of 8 families by the time Darius hit middle school. I knew which families kept their good china locked up when I came. I knew which ones left expired coupons as a tip. I smiled anyway, because every dollar went into a jar on top of the refrigerator, Darius's jar. He knew what it was for. He'd come home from school and sometimes just stand there looking at it. "Mama, I'm gonna pay you back every cent." He was 12 when he said that. I believed him. He got into University of Illinois on a partial scholarship. I cried for an hour straight in the Walmart parking lot after he told me. Then I sat up that night and figured out what the partial didn't cover. And I started sending money orders. Every month, without fail. Even when my knees started giving me trouble. Even when I had to pick up a night shift cleaning an office building downtown just to make the number work. He called every Sunday, for a while. Then every other Sunday. Then holidays. Then nothing. I told myself he was busy, building his career, building his life. I sent a card to his last known address for 3 Christmases in a row. They came back, returned to sender. I stood at my mailbox holding that 3rd card, and something in me, some last piece of hope I'd been protecting, just went quiet. I didn't know yet about Candace. I didn't know yet what he'd told her. That was still coming, and it was going to be so much worse than silence.
Amani called me on a Thursday evening. I was sitting on my porch, cup of tea going cold in my hand, the way it does when your mind is somewhere else. My phone rang, number I didn't recognize, Chicago area code. I almost didn't answer. Is this Loretta Washington? Loretta Mae Washington? Her voice was so young. Yes, baby, this is Loretta. Who's calling? Silence on the line. Then, I think I'm your granddaughter. I put my hand over my mouth. I sat there on that porch for 10 seconds that felt like 10 years. What's your name, sweetheart? Amani. Amani Carter Washington. Carter. That was Candace's family name. Darius had hyphenated it. Even his name had been rearranged. We talked for 2 hours that first night. Amani was careful. She was smart. Lord, she was smart, just like him. But she was also 16, and she'd been carrying a question nobody would answer. Why did her father get so strange whenever she brought up grandparents? Why was there not a single photograph of his mother anywhere in their home? Why did he leave the room the one time she asked? She'd gone looking on her own, found an old church newsletter online, Berean Baptist Church, Memphis, a fundraiser mention, my name, my phone number from years back that somehow still connected. That child found me when nobody else was even looking. On our fourth call, she told me something that stopped my breathing. Grandma Loretta, Daddy told Mama that you passed away before he graduated. He said you never got to see him become a lawyer. I set the phone down on my knee, just for a moment, because I needed that moment to feel the full weight of what my son had done. He hadn't just cut me off, he had killed me. In the story he built, the polished, perfect story, I was already buried. I picked the phone back up. Amani, listen to me carefully. Yes, ma'am? Don't tell your father we've been talking. Not yet. After that call, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling fan going round and round, thinking. Not crying, I was past crying. Thinking. I got up at 2 a.m. and went to my closet. Top shelf, behind the winter blankets. A shoebox. I keep everything. Always have. My mother taught me that. Loretta Mae, paper is proof, and one day proof is all you'll have. Inside that box, every money order stub, every Western Union receipt, every card I'd sent that came back unopened, every letter I'd written that I never mailed because I didn't have an address anymore. 16 years of trying. Documented. I started doing what I should have done years earlier. I looked him up. Darius Washington, attorney at law, senior partner at Whitfield and Associates in Chicago. There he was. Professional headshot, navy suit, that jaw I used to cup in my hands when he was sick with fever as a little boy. I scrolled through the firm's website. There was a bio. I read it slowly. University of Illinois, Northwestern Law, graduated top of his class. And then one line that took the air clean out of my chest. Darius credits his success to his late mother, whose sacrifices inspired his entire career. Late mother. He put it in his professional biography. He was using my sacrifice, my real, documented, back-breaking sacrifice, as part of his origin story. While I was alive, while I was sitting in Memphis clipping coupons and wondering why my Christmas cards came back. I closed the laptop, sat at my kitchen table, and for the first time since Amani called, I let myself get angry. Not the kind of angry that makes you loud, the quiet kind, the kind that makes you organized. I called Pastor Jerome the next morning. He'd known Darius since he was in diapers, baptized him himself. Loretta, what's going on? Jerome, I said, I need you to help me think through something, and I need you to promise me you won't try to talk me out of it. He went quiet. Then, how bad is it? He told his whole world I was dead, Jerome. The silence on that line said everything. I had a plan forming,
But I needed one more piece. I needed to know about the ceremony. Pastor Jerome came through. He always does. He made one call to an old church friend in Chicago, a woman named Sister Audrey who knew everybody and everything in every Black professional circle on the North Side. 2 days later, Jerome called me back. Loretta, tell me. Whitfield and Associates is hosting their annual Civic Honors Dinner 3 weeks from Saturday, the Marriott, downtown Chicago, black tie. I wrote it down. And Jerome, Darius is receiving the Community Pillar Award. Community Pillar. My son, who told his community his mother was dead, receiving an award for being a pillar. What time does it start? 7 o'clock, but the reception is at 6. Loretta, his voice dropped. What are you planning to do? Something he'll never forget. Are you sure about this? Jerome, I scrubbed other people's floors on my hands and knees for 16 years. I have every receipt. I am 67 years old, and my son put me in a grave while I was still breathing. Silence. I'll drive you myself, he said. That night I called Imani. She picked up on the first ring. She always did. Grandma Loretta? Just hearing her say that still did something to me every single time. Baby, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be honest with me. Always. The dinner, 3 weeks from Saturday. Are you going with your parents? She went quiet. Daddy said it was adults only. I'm supposed to stay with Mama's sister. Okay, I said. Okay, good. Grandma, what are you going to do? I smiled for the first time in weeks. I'm going to show up, baby. Just show up? With my shoebox. She understood immediately. I could hear it. Grandma Loretta, her voice was barely a whisper. Are you scared? I thought about that question for a real moment. Scared? Was I scared? I was terrified, but I was more tired of being invisible, and sometimes being tired is louder than being scared. What I didn't know yet was that Imani had her own plan, one she hadn't told me about either. The morning of the dinner, I woke up at 4 a.m. Didn't need an alarm, my body just knew. I lay there in the dark for a few minutes, listening to the quiet of my house, the radiator clicking, a dog somewhere down the street. This house where I raised him, where that jar sat on top of the refrigerator. I got up, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my shoebox in front of me. I went through every receipt one more time, not because I needed to, because I needed to feel them. Each one was a week of my life, a sacrifice with a dollar amount stamped on it. $20, $50, $100 when I could manage it. $47,000, 16 years, and one biography line on a law firm website calling me late. Pastor Jerome pulled up at noon sharp. He didn't say much when I got in the car, just looked at me. Really looked at me, the way he does when words aren't enough. Then he put the car in drive. 4 hours to Chicago. We talked some, prayed some, rode in silence some. Somewhere past the Tennessee border, Jerome said, "You know, whatever happens in there, you've already won, Loretta. You got up. You're going. That's already victory." I nodded, but I needed more than moral victory. I needed Darius to see me, with his own eyes, in a room full of people who believed I was gone. We reached Chicago just after 4. Jerome checked us into a modest hotel 2 blocks from the Marriott. I hung up the dress I'd brought. Navy blue, simple, dignified. I did my hair the way I used to when Darius graduated high school, the last time he looked at me like I was something to be proud of. At 5:30, I picked up my purse, put the manila envelope inside, checked the mirror one last time. An old woman looked back at me.
An old woman who had worked herself to the bone, who had been erased, who was about to walk back into the room. My phone buzzed. A text from Imani. 3 words. Grandma, I'm here. The Marriott ballroom was everything I expected. Crystal chandeliers, round tables with white linen, men in tuxedos, women in gowns. The kind of room Darius had worked his whole life to belong to. The kind of room he'd decided I didn't fit. Jerome stayed close to my left side. We walked in through the main entrance during the reception hour. No invitation, no reservation, just a navy blue dress and a manila envelope and 67 years of truth. Nobody stopped us. That's the thing about walking with dignity. People assume you belong. I saw Candace first. Tall, elegant, natural hair pinned up beautifully. A champagne glass in her hand, laughing at something a woman beside her said. She had a kind face. That surprised me. I don't know what I expected, but kind wasn't it. And then I saw him. Darius, my son. 41 years old and standing there like he owned the air in that room. He had my father's shoulders, my mother's forehead. He was so handsome, and I had missed so much of him. He hadn't seen me yet. He was talking to 2 men near the bar, laughing, comfortable, king of his world. I stood there for just a moment, just watching him. I memorized his face all over again. Then I felt a small hand slip into mine from my right side. Imani. She was supposed to be at her aunt's house. She was standing right beside me in a church dress and her mother's pearl earrings. Her eyes were wet. I couldn't let you do this alone, she whispered. I squeezed her hand so hard. Baby, if your daddy sees you, then he sees me, she said. 16 years old, more courage than anyone in that room. We started walking, through the tables, through the laughter, through the chandelier light, toward him. And the exact moment his eyes found mine across that room, Darius Washington went completely still. His glass stopped halfway to his mouth, and for one long, suspended second, the whole world held its breath. He didn't move. Not one step toward me, not one step back. Just frozen, like a man watching something he buried a long time ago walk back into the light. I kept moving, Imani's hand in mine, Jerome 2 steps behind. The men Darius had been talking to noticed the shift first. They looked at him, then at me, then back at him. "Darius," one of them said, "you all right?" He didn't answer. I stopped 3 feet in front of my son, close enough to see that his eyes were wet. He hadn't expected that from himself, I could tell. "Hello, Darius." His mouth opened. Nothing came out. "Mama." It was barely a sound, scraped from somewhere deep. "I'm not here to make a scene." I said it calmly, clearly. "I'm here because you used my name in your biography. You called me late, and I am not late." Candace appeared at his side. She looked at me with genuine confusion. "Darius, who is—" "Candace," I turned to her gently. "My name is Loretta Mae Washington. I am Darius's mother." Candace's champagne glass lowered slowly. Her eyes moved to Darius. "What?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "You told me she—" "I know what he told you. That's why I'm here." "Mama, please, not here. We can go somewhere private." "No." One word. He stopped. I pulled out the manila envelope, held it out to him. He didn't take it, so I set it on the table beside us. 16 years of money orders, Darius. Every stub, every receipt. $47,000. I have never asked you for a single thing back, not 1 cent, Not one phone call. My voice didn't shake. I had practiced this moment for 3 weeks, but nothing prepares you for looking into your child's eyes and seeing shame looking back. Dad, her voice was small but solid. I found her. She didn't come looking for us. And that broke him open, right there, in front of everyone.
Darius cried. I'm not talking about a dignified tear. I mean, he broke. Right there, in that ballroom, in his tuxedo, in front of his colleagues and his peers and the people who'd come to honor him. He put his face in his hands and he wept. I didn't go to him. I wanted to. Lord knows every mother instinct in me wanted to cross those 3 feet and hold my child. But I stood still, because this moment needed to happen without me rescuing him from it. People had stopped pretending not to watch. A woman at the nearest table had her hand over her mouth. One of the men from the bar had stepped back quietly. Nobody said a word. Candace was the one who moved first. She stepped away from Darius, just one step, but it said everything. She looked at me with eyes that were trying to process 5 years of marriage built on a missing piece. He told me on our second date, she said quietly, that his mother passed before he graduated, that she never got to see what he became. I nodded slowly. She saw, I said. She was just never invited to. Darius, her voice was ice over deep water. We will talk about this. Not a question, not a request. He looked wrecked, undone, like a man seeing himself clearly for the first time in years and not surviving the sight. Mama, his voice was destroyed. I was ashamed. Of me? I asked. Of where I came from, of not being enough already. Candace's family, he stopped. They came from money, old money, and I came from me, I said, scrubbing floors so you could have a future. He nodded, broken and nodding. Do you know what I would have given just to sit in the back of one courtroom, just once, and watch you? Imani slipped her hand back into mine, and somewhere behind me I heard Pastor Jerome exhale, the long, slow exhale of a man watching something get healed that he thought might never heal. The ceremony director appeared nervously at the edge of our circle. Mr. Washington, they're ready to begin the program. Darius looked at her, then at me, then at the envelope on the table. Give me a moment, he said. He picked up the envelope, held it, like it weighed everything it was worth. Can you stay? He asked me. For the dinner? I looked at Jerome. Jerome looked at me. I looked back at my son. I didn't drive 4 hours to leave early. They gave Darius his award that night, Community Pillar. He walked to that podium in front of 300 people, and he didn't give the speech he'd prepared. I know because he told me later he threw the notes in his pocket the moment he gripped that microphone. He stood there for a long second. Then he said, I need to make a correction tonight. My bio says my mother passed before I graduated. That is not true. My mother is in this room. She is sitting at table 7, and every single thing I have ever achieved, every case, every partnership, every award, was built on her back, literally. Her name is Loretta Mae Washington, and I am so sorry it took me this long to say that out loud. 300 people looked at table 7, at a 67-year-old woman in a navy blue dress, and they stood up. I didn't know what to do with that. I just held Imani's hand under that table and looked straight ahead and let it wash over me. Things didn't fix themselves overnight. I won't pretend they did. Candace and Darius had hard conversations I wasn't in the room for, but she called me the following Tuesday, just to talk. We talked for an hour and a half. She's a good woman.
She deserved the truth from the beginning. Darius drove to Memphis 6 weeks later. He sat at my kitchen table, in this house where he grew up, and he stayed for 3 days. We didn't resolve everything. Some things may take years. But on the last morning, he stood at my door with his bag, and he looked at me the way he used to when he was small. "Mama, I'm gonna make this right." I touched his face. "You already started, baby." And that brings me to you. You sat with me through this whole story, every painful piece of it, and I need to hear from you right now. Drop a comment and tell me, what part of this hit you the hardest? Was it the biography line? Was it Imani showing up? Was it that ballroom moment? Tell me. And if you are sitting somewhere right now feeling invisible, feeling like someone has written you out of a story you helped build, I want you to hear this. Your receipts exist. Your sacrifices are documented somewhere, even if only in your own bones. You do not need permission to show up. If this story meant something to you, share it right now. Send it to somebody who needs to hear it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, because we tell real stories here. Stories about real people who refused to stay invisible. We are building something here together, and I am so glad you're part of it. I'm Loretta Mae Washington, and I am very much alive.